What is up, YouTube? Third Impact here to give you my first impressions on a brand new show airing this summer anime season, and that is of the show Tokyo Ghoul. Now, I watched the first episode last week and didn't make a video. I had my reservations about the series, but after seeing the second episode, I am most certainly going to be watching this show and hopefully uploading my thoughts and take on each episode as they air every week, so please stay tuned for that. So as you can likely gather from the title, this series takes place in Tokyo and concerns the mysterious figure of ghouls, which we are still learning more about. They're kind of like regular everyday people, other than the fact that they have to eat human flesh in order to survive. And our main character, Kaneki, he has this crush on a girl at this coffee shop that he regularly goes to, finally gets to go out on a date with her, and it turns out that she is an extremely powerful ghoul, attacks him, is killed in a freak construction accident, and then her organs are transplanted into poor Kaneki, who becomes a half-ghoul. So the opening sequence to this show tells us a lot of things about both the story and the production of the show itself. It's a great action sequence that really shows us how awesome the animation of the series is going to be. Definitely one of the highlights from the first two episodes, but also showcases one of the show's flaws, at least as a TV air. And that is of the pretty intense censoring at times. In this opening scene, sometimes like half the screen is almost black. And in the opening scene of the second episode, there was so much censoring that you could barely even understand what was happening. It's a weird thing to fault the show for, because this is obviously all going to be corrected in the Blu-rays, and the show's just going to look perfectly fine. But as a TV airing, the censoring does hold it back quite a bit, I feel. And what else does this opening scene tell us? Well, the ghoul whose organs are transplanted into our protagonist, Rize, which makes him into a half-ghoul, she is an extremely powerful S-class ghoul. So this will explain the protagonist's power, I feel, and how he was able to do what he did in the second episode. But it also brings up the fact that she's a binge eater, so his hunger pains and his insatiable lust for flesh, I feel, will be extra potent because of the fact that the organs he got was from a crazy binge-eating S-class ghoul. So that's really cool. Also, she completely destroys this other S-class ghoul who wears a Jason mask. So you think it's like a Jason reference? According to the guy in the second episode, his name is literally Jason. So that's a pretty blatant reference. But also really cool, because I love that this is a horror series that is throwing in those old school horror references. So that's great. So something that stood out to me even from just reading the description of the show was that Kaneki, our protagonist, is a college student. I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. You don't get as many college protagonists in anime. It's usually high school. I'm a little bit older myself. Maybe this is going to be leaning more towards seinen than shonen. It's not going to be as generic of an anime protagonist archetype. But sadly, in the first episode, that was exactly what we were given. We were given a really awkward around girls sort of lame protagonist, and this is one of the reasons why I held off on the show and wasn't 100% sure as to whether or not I was really going to dive in. But I was holding out hope that due to the traumatic circumstances Kaneki goes through in the first episode, that part of his character was pretty much going to be done away with come the second episode. And for the most part, that's exactly what happened, so I was very happy about that. And in the first episode, Kaneki learning that he is a half-ghoul was probably one of the best parts, or one of the most well-done segments of the episode, in my opinion at least. Him just losing his mind, trying to keep all the food that he's eating down, not being able to eat the burger that his best friend Hide bought him, his absolute favorite, knowing that after he can't keep that down, he has to be a ghoul. All of that was just great. But one thing that always kind of sticks out to me, especially when he's standing in the middle of the crowd, biting himself with a crazed look on his face. People are walking by oh, that guy's kind of weird. Yeah, he's probably a ghoul. Everybody in this show just sort of accepts the fact that there's crazy psychopaths wandering the night cannibalizing people. Like, it's like, oh yeah, there was another ghoul attack last night, but then you see people just walking around by themselves at night. Well, maybe not necessarily by themselves, but you see people just walking around. Obviously, they do walk around by themselves at night. And I mean, obviously Kaneki doesn't expect anything of Rize, but he walks into some dark alley with her and is attacked, obviously. And the other thing is that Kaneki learns that he's a ghoul because he can't be harmed by blades and sharp objects. When he tries to stab himself very intensely, like a samurai, by the way, you could have just given yourself a little cut, Kaneki. You didn't need to stab yourself in the gut to prove that you weren't a ghoul. That's besides the point. Pretty much, why isn't, unless the government's in on it or something, going around and doing a small test with people, going like, here's a needle. Oh, it breaks when it touches your skin? You're probably a ghoul. You're probably one of those psychopathic cannibals that wanders the night that we should be doing something about. Just, that's silly. It's anime. Obviously, you have to just roll with it and accept it. But, like, if you think about the world that this series is taking place in, very kind of silly how all that works, but it's fine. You just obviously they haven't done a systematic testing of the population to find out who's a ghoul, or maybe that's part of the plot that I just haven't even thought of yet. Because when Kaneki is given his organ transplant, it seems like the doctor is aware that they created a ghoul out of him. So who knows what sort of conspiracies and things might be going on, and I'm very excited to learn more, hopefully. So at the end of the first episode, we are also introduced to two more ghouls, one of them being Toka, this girl that works at the coffee shop that Hide and Kaneki go to, and Nishio, who in the second episode we learn is a second year in college. So both of these ghouls are two individuals who live their regular everyday lives in public with other people who our protagonist and Hide have interacted with on multiple accounts and never realized that they were ghouls. So, even though, obviously, Kaneki is traumatized, he doesn't know what he can do, he's freaking out, he doesn't want to be a half-ghoul, I'm still a human, I can't eat human flesh. A lot of that was fine in the first episode, him dealing with the fact that he's a half-ghoul, but come the second episode, sometimes he's still freaking out. And it's like, there's other people that can handle their shit better than you, Kaneki. Like, I realize this is a big deal, and they were obviously born ghouls, it seems, from what Toka explained. Also not really explained how a ghoul is a ghoul in the first place. But, I mean, Toka makes a very good point when he's whining and whining. I'm saying whining. Obviously, he should be complaining. It's a pretty ridiculous situation. But Toka's like, you're complaining that you don't know how any of these things taste anymore or what your life was like before? My life's always been this way, so think about how I feel each time you say that. I've never known what cake tastes like. I've never known any of these things. So I really liked that scene. Really, I wouldn't say humanized, because she's not a human. Ghoulized? No, it's humanized. Toka. Really made her an interesting character, I feel, and like really level-headed, like telling Kaneki what's up. And really put Nishio in his place at the end of the first episode. But come the second episode, Kaneki and Hide are reunited. Obviously, Kaneki is kind of all awkward, doesn't really know what to do. And I really like Hide. He's a really good best friend, and I really like to see how he cares about Kaneki. And even by the end of the episode, knows that he's a ghoul, overheard a conversation he had, knows that he's a ghoul, but doesn't care. It's still his friend anyways. But we see Nishio, the crazy psychopath that almost killed Kaneki at the end of the first episode, but Toka was there to save him, a ghoul, meets him at school with Hide. Hide's best friends with this guy. Crazy fuck. They're walking down the street. This part of the episode just floored me. He turns around and just boots Hide, like probably 50 feet down into a parking garage. Just like, alright, now that he's out of the way, I gotta deal with you. Just like, what the hell? Like, he boots him. It was almost comical, but it was actually just awesome. And Nishio and Kaneki have this fight. Well, it's mainly Nishio just kicking the shit out of Kaneki and threatening to kill Hide. Kind of cool. Nishio's like ghoul tendril. It's actually like a blue and green one, so that's kind of cool. I always thought that they had to be red, but they're all sort of unique, and his is blue and green, so that's pretty cool. it really, at least in Nishio's case, whenever I see these ghouls with their like red chaos tendrils, it's like, oh, they're like vampires, or it's like Helsing like with their like chaos magic energy. But with Nishio having the blue and green tendril, it really made ghouls feel like more than just like vampires, or more than that, because he doesn't have this red and black color scheme. He has very vibrant colors, so it's like they're their own sort of life form, which is cool. But he's threatening him, blah blah blah, kicking the shit out of Kaneki, and Kaneki has this awakening of like, don't kill my friend, and he gets his crazy tendrils for the first time. Very strange scene. He destroys Nishio, fucks him up. It looks awesome, really gory. But they make the colors inverted while this happens. The entire screen inverts in color. And it was like, is this how they're censoring things? Is this how they like kind of get away with censoring things by just inverting the colors? Like, okay, I guess that's better than the screen being all black, but at the same time, it's kind of weird. At the same time, it didn't really look right. It looked badass. You could tell what was happening, so that was cool, but Blu-rays, man, we need Blu-rays to come in and uncensor this stuff, make it look better, and fix it. But like I said, that's not a fault to the series. It's just the way that they're doing this TV airing. Really cool scene of Kaneki going crazy. After that happens, it's also very cool the way that they kind of show it being kind of surreal with Rise appearing and like hugging Kaneki and like comforting him, being sort of sensual and sort of pushing him to consume flesh. Very cool way of them expressing him sort of being pushed and compelled to do these things beyond just his ghoul sort of thirst. Rise is also there, egging him on all the time, and he comes very close to losing his mind and eating Hide until Toka shows up, and it's like, really? Like, you were just going on and on about how you're not a ghoul, you're not going to consume flesh, and now you're about to eat your best friend? Like, I know I'm trying to push you to eat flesh, but this is a little much. And he goes to attack her, and you don't see the battle, but it's like, whatever. That gets cut off, and Toka brings him back to this little organization. And the whole thing is, Kaneki keeps freaking out, but there's Toka and this other older man who are a ghoul, and they're like, see, we're ghouls, we're nice, we're trying to be nice, we're doing the best we can being ghouls, and let us help you in your half-ghoul ways. Be like a respectable ghoul, not one of those crazy binge eaters. We just do what we need to survive, and that's that. So, very, very good second episode. I liked it a lot. Can't wait for the third episode. Sorry that this video is a little bit long. I did have to cover 2 episodes in this one first impression video, but don't worry, I'm going to be doing one for episode 3 and onward. So please stay tuned. Hope you guys are liking Tokyo Ghoul. Hope you like my video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys later. Peace.